Hi.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show where we're constantly looking for answers to solve all of the world's problems. And you're totally going to find them on TEDx. And I come to you live from Crater Valley on the moon with Dog Cat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to Thursday. It is terrifying Thursday. I got to come up with some other T words to describe Thursday. Some other T adjectives. They're not infused with the T virus, but they might as well be. Anyway, how's everybody doing this evening on this beautiful Thursday evening? Yes, we're on the penultimate day of the work week. One more day, and then we're all free at last for, 2 days. But before I get to tonight's topic, who's joining me on this beautiful, terrifyingly Thursday evening? Advocatus Diaboli. Good evening. Who else is here? Walter Tomaszewski, hello. Or Jello from someone who's been ill since this time yesterday. Ew. Well, stop doing that. As your doctor, I recommend you stop being ill. I've done my job. Adam Nixon, hello. Oh, wait, everybody's names are correct. Wait a second. YouTube fixed their stuff on my channel. I just noticed. Everybody's names are correct. They're not their ats or anymore. It's back to your regular names. Oh my gosh. What a luxury. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. Adam Nixon. Good evening, everyone. I just got my new leg totally pimped out, and I'm almost ready to go back home from rehabilitation. I'm doing the happy dance, sort of. Okay, now, question is, did you have it installed with an oil slick and a smoke screen? Because otherwise, I'm going to be disappointed. Or like a built-in machine gun. Because if you had a built-in machine gun, that'd be great. You ever see Darkman? If you haven't seen Darkman, just look out for Skip. And once you know who Skip is, you'll understand. Blue-Eyed Scream, I think I'm about to go to bed. Well, are you? Have a good show. I'll catch you tomorrow. Good night, fine people. Well, good night, Blue-Eyed Scream, and hopefully you will enjoy this tomorrow. Alan Thyler, good evening. Keeverdam, good evening. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link, guys, at the top of the chat box to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society donation page. If you take a look at that when you have the opportunity, if you can donate, please do so. But even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Keeverdam, as always, for providing the link. The Alexander, good evening. Kiro Soldier, hello. Who else is here? Mike R, good evening. Angelverse, hello. Amethyst Owl, good evening. Amethyst Owl. I feel like I haven't said that name before, or at least rarely. So, good evening, Amethyst Owl. If you're new here, hello. If you're not, I apologize, I forgot. Corbin Dallas, hello. The Best Remy, hello. Full Metal Joker, good evening. Corey Suzuki, hello. Brian Morissette, hello. Who else is here? Anybody else? Is everybody in? Daryl Odell, hello. Simon Willikins, hello. I did not get the live notification. Also, Testicular Torsion Thursday. Ugh. Maybe not that. Maybe not something quite that extreme. John Dryoxin, hello. And I think that's everybody. Oh, Amethyst Owl. I'm new. I really enjoy. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, just like Ranting Monkey, who on September 8th will be celebrating his 9th year doing YouTube. I am quickly upcoming my own 9th anniversary on October 11th. So it's nice to see new people, even after all this time. But let's get into tonight's topic. Now, a little preamble. What's my process in choosing a TEDx talk? Well, every Wednesday or so afternoon, I take a look and see what TEDx has uploaded to their YouTube page over the course of the previous week. First filter is the talk in English? That does away with a lot of talks right away. A lot of talks are not in English. Second, is the talk something from a TEDx youth event where you essentially have grade schoolers giving book reports? Those are out of the running as well. And now I've had to install a sort of third mental filter, which takes away a whole swath of what's remaining. And that is AI in the title? Because at this point, it's like a couple of years ago where metaverse was all over the place. And metaverse has been replaced with AI. And at this stage of the game, unless it's something that really catches my attention, it's all just, oh, will AI save us from the climate crisis? Or how AI will fix this? Or will AI, solve my toe fungus or something? I don't care. I don't care. I see a TEDx talk with AI in the title. I just blank it out. It's like I don't even see it. I'm AI blind, not third eye blind. That's a whole other situation. And what was left after all of that was kind of it's some things had some interesting titles, but nah. So in those situations where pickings are slim, I will occasionally go to the vault. And what is the vault, you might say? Well, in the course of a general week of TEDxing, I might find 4 or 5 talks that look interesting. And obviously, since I'm doing this once a week now, instead of back in the early lockdown days where I do it every day, that means that, 3 or 4 talks get pushed by the wayside as not quite as interesting as the one that I choose. And those I keep in reference for a rainy day. And today, or yesterday at least, it was raining. So, that all out of the way, what did I find in the vault that I thought might be interesting and possibly timely? Well, if you did not know, there has been a migrant crisis of a sort in Europe, generalized. Most specifically in the headlines recently in the UK. But of course, that's not new news. There's just been a new event there that kind of caught everybody's attention, wherein a young Scottish girl in the UK felt the need to protect herself by carrying bladed weapons to fend off foreign-born adult men who sought to harass her and her friends. I'm keeping this as mildly descriptive as possible for the sake of the family hour here. And that's just the, most recent outgrowth of the problems in the UK specifically. But there have been problems writ large across Europe for quite a while because of the migrant crisis. And so I found this one in my vault, in my archive. Why Europe needs to stop being colorblind. Okay, so now for all I know, and I'd be amazed if this was the case. For all I know, our speaker is going to talk explicitly and specifically about the literal condition of colorblindness, which would be amazing. I don't think that's the case, though. I think she is going to be talking about the concept or the principle of colorblindness. And what is that, might you ask? Well, if you don't know, that is the principle best encapsulated in the phrase, I'm going to assess you on the content of your character rather than the color of your skin. And I am paraphrasing from Martin Luther King Jr. Colorblindness. It doesn't mean you can't see color. It means that race and or ethnicity is not a value factor in your assessment of people. If you ever hear someone arguing against colorblindness and they make it a literal argument or they start teasing you over the idea that, oh, you're colorblind, then you know you're not dealing with someone who's arguing in good faith. So if Europe needs to stop being colorblind, then they need to be more color conscious is the only corollary I can come up with. And if you're color conscious, where does that lead you? I guess we'll find out. We'll listen to our speaker here in a moment. Ostsan, good evening. Pope Tyrannus III, the Blessed Lich, good evening. Anybody else I missed in the meantime? I don't think so. But if I did, please do make yourself known, and I will be sure to say hello to you as I'm able. Tonight's bingo card, everybody, is bingo card B. B as in whatever the color I picked was. Well, here's what happened. The poll on the Twitter machine, it ended up in a 3-way tie. And I'm pretty sure there's a cabal of you out there that engineered that to be the case just to frustrate me. That's my theory. You're all conspiring against me. So what I had to do was create an online 3-part Wheel of Fortune, A, B, C, and just spin that, and it landed on B. So B is the card tonight. Links are in the description. Also, Wheezy McBluntblowin, good evening. It's JB. I regret the name change. Do you, though? Do you? You're laughing. I don't believe you. Anyway, get your bingo card B's ready, everybody. This talk clocks in at 15 minutes and 39 seconds, so let's get going. This is a big talk. And I also wanted to mention, let's go over to the bingo card real quick just to remind ourselves of some things, because the Luke Skywalker 2 made a very good suggestion about one of the squares on the board, suggesting a caveat that I hadn't thought of previously. So get your bingo card B's ready. Let's go over the card once before I start the talk to remind ourselves. Okay, bingo card B, marginalization. self-vilification or wretchedness, contradicts own point or fails to make argument, feminism, microaggressions or unconscious bias, and again, as always, that is them using those concepts as part of their presentation, not an observance we make of their own attitude or, biases. Privilege, benevolent condescension, weightless example or non sequitur, plays victim, collectivizes own demographic, economic disparity, deceptive statistics, attempt to coin a new buzzword or buzz phrase, a list, and remember that has to be ideally a formal list like steps or points, mind reading or assumes motives, patriarchy, anecdote that probably never happened, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, so Luke Skywalker 2 over on the Discord. And if you'd like to join the Discord, there'll be a link at the end of the show. He suggested something that was brilliantly simple in its brilliance. So a long time now, whenever someone in a talk has used either of the three words, or either whatever, the three words, diversity, equity, or inclusion, reflexively, I've usually just circled it. But here's the caveat. Now, obviously, if someone mentions DEI explicitly, that's easy. But in the absence of that, if someone argues for someone being ascended to a position outside of meritocracy, if the elements of what diversity, equity, and inclusion are mentioned or used or argued for in the talk, that can count. It cannot simply be the use of the word or words, because somebody could use either of those three words, any of those three words, I'll get it right eventually, out of the context of an actual diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology. So it's not the words, it's at the very least the concept, right? Okay, so let's keep that in mind now and into the future. It's not DEI, the words, it's DEI at the very least, some core element of that entire philosophy. Moving on, white supremacy, childhood or family anecdote, systemic or institutional, leaves out vital context, sales pitch for product or service, and lastly, word salad. Okay, that's what we're looking out for today on Bingo Card B. Let's get this one rocking. I will start it. You guys tell me if you can hear it. Do a couple seconds for a sound test, and then we will proceed.
There's something you should know about me.
There's something we should know about her, guys. Can you hear that all right? Let me know in the chat. A couple more hellos here. Peter, good evening. JPS, hello. Anybody else I missed in the meantime? I hope not. But if I did, make yourself known. I hear it. My ears are not colorblind. No, you're just not deaf. Jeez.
It's that I love data.
Really? Well, I'm kind of a Riker fan myself. But I mean, maybe I'm just the minority. But anyway.
Now I know what you're thinking.
I'm thinking Star Trek.
TED Talk about data and data collection.
Oh, dang it.
Admittedly, not a very sexy topic.
I mean, it all depends. Math can be sexy. Oh, wait. October 2023. Okay, the publication date of this talk to the TEDx YouTube page was February of 2024. So they held on to this thing for October, November, December, January, 4 months before they posted it. Okay, so it's even older than I thought, but not that old.
But ultimately, I think data is really just a collection of individual stories that come together to tell a collective story.
A collective story? Okay.
And we all love stories.
Well, it all depends on where they're coming from. Are they coming from Hollywood? Not so much these days.
Today I want to talk to you about home, belonging, and acceptance.
Home, belonging, and acceptance. Okay.
And about the stories that data can tell us about who is included and who isn't.
Ooh, I smell some deceptive statistics coming our way. Possibly so.
Let me start with my story.
You dyed your hair.
I'm originally from Bolivia.
Okay.
And I grew up, yes, all around the world, but...
Oh, all around the world. Okay.
When I was 15, I moved to the United States.
Uh-huh.
And I had always heard when I was a kid that the US was this big, beautiful melting pot of different races and ethnicities and cultures, and that everyone was accepted and could fit in.
Well, the first few parts of that statement are correct, but depending on where you go and who you're talking to, your mileage may vary, just like everywhere else in the world.
So I was really excited to move there.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to a childhood or family anecdote because she did say since, I moved when I was 15, and, by extension, deals with her family as well. So childhood or family anecdote, circling that one on the board, as well as free space because free is a good price. Okay, moving on.
But when I got there, I realized that my lived reality of that promise was going to be different.
I am a native-born American. And I was not accepted by certain people in my age group. I was made fun of, ostracized because I had glasses and I was quiet and shy. I didn't even have to come from a different country to experience that, if you can believe it.
I was one of the few immigrant students in a mostly white school.
Uh-huh.
And with my long, dark hair, my tan skin, and a name like Maria Fernanda, I was immediately racialized as Latina.
Well, you are Latina. You are. It wasn't some artificial construct that was laid upon your feet or something.
And I found out that meant I was seen as other.
Okay. Plays victim, circling that one. Don't get me wrong. It's not fun being made fun of or being ostracized or something else by your peer group. I've had it happen to me too. So if it helps, you are not alone.
I did not see any examples of people who looked like me in our textbooks or assigned novels. In US history classes, we would only learn about European immigrants and their experiences. My teachers always made comments about how exotic I was.
I learned about people from different countries that weren't European in school. And I'm older, I assume, than this lady is. So I don't know. Maybe you just had an interesting school. You really needed to see yourself in the textbooks, huh? Okay.
And there were even a couple times when kids in classrooms would tell me to go back to Mexico.
Oh my God, guys, can you believe it? Kids were mean in school.
Now, although I did find this geographic ignorance about the distance between Bolivia and Mexico rather amusing.
You mean in grade school kids? Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah. Oh, yes. Mike R. makes a good point. She says, I know what you're thinking. Mind reading. It's true. That's a good one. Okay, so circling mind reading assumes motives on the board. Where did I put that, by the way? It's always hiding from me. There's only so many squares on here. There it is, right there. Right above childhood or family anecdote. There it was. I'm not colorblind, but I might just be blind.
The jokes still hurt.
Uh-huh.
And although I did eventually make friends,
yeah,
I realized that I was always going to be seen as the foreign Latina kid.
Well, that might be a you problem. At a certain point, it might be a pain self-chosen. But anyway.
So I had been led to believe that the US was this beautiful, colorblind melting pot.
Well, under law, presumably. But I say presumably with a certain amount of sadness, given I've covered DEI for the last 9 years.
But that narrative did not capture my experience.
Well, you know what? The world doesn't revolve around you. Whatever other legitimate complaints you might have about your growing up and elsewise, I hate to tell you this, you're going to have to grow up.
Did not capture my experience in school.
Mm.
And so I became obsessed with this question of identity.
Oh boy, I love people who are obsessed with identity. Like Jason Bourne.
Of collective identity. What story do we tell ourselves about who we are, and who is included in that narrative of us?
Okay, now I know she said collective. I'm going to wait and see if she says something a bit more explicit otherwise. We'll start collectivize his own demographic here pretty quick because she kind of already has, but I want to see how far she goes.
This question led me to study education policy at Harvard with a focus on racial and ethnic inequality.
Oh, Harvard, racial and ethnic inequality, you say? They have some practice at that, don't they?
And as I studied inequality in public policy,
Do you mean inequality or do you mean disparity? Or do you mean inequality as far as historic, like prior to 1964?
realized that my question was getting more specific. I was interested in how historically homogeneous communities include new forms of diversity.
Oh, diversity. Now, she said the word, but she's so far used it in its right context. I got a question for her. And I don't know the answer to this. I'm asking sincerely. What kind of diversity is in Bolivia? How does Bolivia deal with people from outside a homogeneous community? You know, I mean, are these sins America's alone?
How are these new diverse communities integrated, if at all, into a collective sense of who belongs?
Or you could ask, how do these outside communities assimilate to the country and culture to which they are now a home to?
Now, my professors kept bringing up Europe as this beacon of hope and social progress.
Yeah, you know, tramping down on personal freedoms, freedom of speech out the window, arresting girls trying to defend themselves from adult predators. Yeah, Europe, man. Oh yeah, it's a beacon on the hill, Europe is right now.
Especially with increasing diversity. And so I became really curious about Europe's approaches to integration.
You keep saying diversity like it is a automatically positive thing. In the absence of any other context, diversity is just good, no matter what.
Now, migration has always been a part of Europe's history.
Yes, but mass migration and illegal immigration.
After World War II, there was a big wave of migration as Western European nations called for help from guest workers from abroad to come.
You mean skilled labor?
Help and revive the economy.
Yeah.
And policymakers expected that these guest workers would eventually leave when the program ended in the 70s. But actually, a lot of them chose to stay. They had been here for a while. They called their families. They already called this place home, and so they stayed.
And so people who were legitimately invited into these countries because of their skilled labor and merit came and decided to stay. Yeah.
And then more recently, we've also seen a wave of immigrants and asylum seekers taking refuge in Europe. This is an example from Germany.
These two events are not the same. These two trends are decidedly not the same. Are you going to acknowledge that, I wonder?
And most of these communities come from outside of Western Europe and therefore look more noticeably different from the populations that they're immigrating into.
Is it the look so much as the behave? Anyway, deceptive statistics, circling that one because she did not distinguish between a official certified program of skilled labor versus just asylum seekers and people coming into the country. And I also wonder, is she going to distinguish between legal and illegal immigrants in any way, shape, or form? And
yet, national identity in Europe historically has mostly relied on ancestry.
National identity. Well, tradition, codes of conduct and values. And it's also relied on assimilation.
Or ethnic heritage.
Sure. I feel like I'm being Trojan horsed into something, but okay. Sure.
That might mean language, culture, religion.
Might mean language, culture, religion. Might?
And so Europe is now facing an identity crisis.
I suppose it is. Because they should just bow down and accept bad ideas or bad actors or cultures and Sharia laws just because they show up and say, here we are. People just to show up and they don't have to assimilate. They don't have to take on the values of the country they're now inhabiting. They just get to take over.
With all this new diversity,
which, again, you seem to be categorizing as inherently good no matter what.
What narrative do we tell about who belongs in Europe now?
How about people that obey the laws and assimilate to the culture to which they are now living in or guests to? I know, it's a crazy idea. It's a crazy, crazy idea.
I moved to Germany in 2020 to learn about how Europe approaches diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, how does Europe approach diversity and inclusion? At this point, I am just going to circle diversity, equity, and inclusion because both in the use of the words and in her implied intent here, it fits.
And what I found is that most conversations about DEI in Europe tend to focus on gender equality.
Well, admittedly, I haven't done as much of a study over the years on European DEI as I have American DEI, but sure, gender is, if not slightly above, then usually at parity with racial equality, or equity, I should say.
Now, obviously, we're at a women's conference. This is obviously a really important topic.
Obviously.
And yet, whenever I would ask about, well, what about the women of color?
What about women isn't enough, now you have to get more granular. What about the women of color? Oh, okay, well, I don't know. What about the women of color?
I was always met with this comment of, oh, you Americans are so obsessed with race.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, it's true. So wait a second. First off, I have seen nothing that convinces me that the various governments in European countries are colorblind. Save for the fact that they don't want to be accused of racial profiling and enforcing the law and chasing down criminals. So they just sort of like look the other way and whistle and twiddle their thumbs while, decades of abuse and assault take place because they don't want to be accused of profiling or something. If that's what you want to call color blindness, that's sort of like the through the mirror darkly, no pun intended, color blindness. But okay, yeah, you Americans so obsessed with race. I can't argue against you on that one.
Racism is an American problem. We don't.
I don't know if somebody actually said this to her. I don't know if this is an anecdote I don't believe, because I could believe that some snobby Europeans believe that they are above the fray.
We don't have that problem here.
Uh-huh.
Now, this is, of course, not true.
I agree with you. Okay, so she and I are on the same page on this one.
Racism exists everywhere.
Yes, it does.
Europe, and especially Germany, has a long and complex history with race-based discrimination.
You don't say. Germany? Really? Tell me more.
And yet, perhaps precisely because of this history, it is too charged of a topic to bring up and discuss. And so I find that people in Europe are more willing to talk about gender equality precisely because they can take a colorblind approach.
Well, if they actually are taking a colorblind approach, then more power to them. Now, admittedly, I am not a German, but what little I have gleaned from Germans on the subject is the amount of shame over their history is something that they don't even want to visit upon, and so they kind of pretend, as she's implying, that it's not there, even though it is. And so their colorblindness oftentimes is, I don't know, it's overcompensating, or it's just in name only. It's hard to say. I'm not German. I'd have to hear from a German on the subject more so. I've only gotten a little bit through osmosis.
And you might have heard about this colorblind philosophy before. If I don't see color.
It's true. Now, are you going to argue that statement is one of a literal statement of fact? or a declaration of principle?
I believe there's just one race, the human race.
It sounds a little hippie trippy, but yeah, in general, that's the idea.
And that is a well-intentioned thought.
But
when we use this way of seeing the world to design policy and interact with each other, it can actually be harmful.
Okay, well, I can't wait to hear this. All right, so if I design a policy or law or something that explicitly removes race as a value factor or otherwise penalizes evidence or activities that do use race as a value factor, how is that harmful? Tell me why. Ain't nothing but a heartache. Tell me why we need to have race as part of policy.
And the reason it's harmful is that it's not true.
What's not true?
It's a myth.
What's a myth?
Our brains obviously do see color.
Oh, I knew it! I knew it! Didn't I say it? Didn't I say it? If somebody comes at this and the rejoinder is the literal translation of the phrase, they are not debating in good faith. There's a great, this is not mine. I gotta preface this. This is a TEDx talk that we watched in the past. Coleman Hughes. I did a special on this because Coleman Hughes's TEDx talk was basically banned by TEDx, or at least so hidden down in the algorithm that it was effectively silenced. He made a great comparison to try to convince people about the wrongness of this argument. If I describe someone as being soft-hearted, am I saying that they have some kind of like valve malfunction in their heart? Like their heart muscle is failing or something? No. I am using a euphemism, a metaphor, if you will, to describe someone's character, their compassion, maybe a little bit of naivete when it comes to their emotions, right? I'm not being literal. So when I say that I practice a colorblind philosophy in life, it is not a literal statement of truth that I cannot see color, or I'm making such a claim. And so when someone like this starts out with their opposition to colorblindness saying, obviously people see color. You can't not see color. Unless you're blind literally, or you're colorblind literally. Then I know I'm not dealing with someone who's being sincere. Very disingenuous. I really hate that stuff. Let's see. Anything I can circle on that one? I might leave out vital context in a reverse, but let's wait a minute. Let's wait a minute and see.
We do recognize differences.
Yes, we do recognize differences. The question is, do we actively put a value on difference?
And that means that even if we don't like admitting it, a lot of us end up developing an unconscious or implicit association with certain groups over others.
Oh, unconscious bias, you say, actually in the talk. Well, circling that one on the board. Microaggressions or unconscious bias. But here's the thing, and I say it again, just because we notice difference does not automatically mean we assess a value to them. So she's also mind reading assumes motives again, effectively. I keep hearing, I've heard that argument made so many times, like, children start noticing difference at 3 or 4, so we have to get to them early before they start becoming racists. Because obviously noticing a difference between things means you're going to be a discriminatory racist automatically.
Harvard has this project Implicit where they designed tests that will measure these unconscious attitudes and beliefs.
Microaggressions.
And one of these tests specifically measures whether somebody has a positive or negative association with black faces.
Yeah, tell me about the results of the implicit bias studies that have taken place over the last several years. Tell me, does that mean that someone is racist if they have a reaction to a face of one stripe versus another? And also, tell me about the reactions comparing the white participants from the black participants.
And here's the results for Europe.
Aha.
This map shows that every country in Europe has a negative association with blackness.
Okay. Mean IAT scores of white participants. A negative association? So does that mean racism? And also, show us the results of the black participants. Because nearly every study I've heard about, let's just say, the results may surprise you.
The red countries show more bias and the blue countries have slightly less bias, but there was no country that had zero bias or even positive bias.
Okay, and when you say negative bias, does that mean racism? Or could that just indicate unfamiliarity? If you have a country that is 90% white, let me ask you something. Did they do any kind of tests like this in African nations against white faces? And what were the reactions there? I've already circled deceptive statistics, but I could circle it again, I suppose. Over in the chat, Frosted Glass, thank you so much. I'm fine with blackface, wear it all the time. Okay, that was Frosted Glass saying that. That was not my confession. Just so you know. Also, Fostonia, hello. Anybody else I missed in the meantime? Scrolling. The Dead Man, hello. You might have heard about that mustache man who actually burned a certain race or a certain group of people in Russia that killed a certain people over their race. I know. It may have happened. And what did skin color have to do with it? Nothing. Advocacy, I believe. They did not, and that is because the test designers implicit bias. Yeah. I'm in a circle leaves out vital context. Unless she's about to show us a graph showing the results of the non-white participants in that same study, then yeah.
And the same was true for the US.
The US, only the white participants. I'm glad you put that up on the actual slides, but you're not saying it out loud for some reason.
So, yes, it's true that the US has a problem with racism.
A problem with racism? Yeah, we kind of passed a whole Civil Rights Act to disincentivize it in official spaces, didn't we?
But so does Europe.
So does Africa. So does China. So does Russia. Everywhere on the planet, racism exists. You said it yourself. And it is not exclusive to one skin color.
Even if it's not talked about as much.
Well, I mean, admittedly, this talk is in 2023, but trust me, racism was being talked about in Europe, if you want to recall the George Floyd pandemic.
And we see the impact of those unconscious biases in the lived experiences of ethnic minorities in Europe. In a survey of young people in 12 EU nations, they found that about 40% of all Black, Muslim, and Roma people experience discrimination in their daily lives.
Muslim is not a race. But okay, sure. I'm going to circle a list. That's effectively a list as long with the slide, so circle in that one. Oh boy, okay.
Due to their ethnic heritage, religion, or skin color.
Uh-huh.
And so what this data shows us is that we do see color.
It is a principle of conduct and law. It is not a literal truth. Every time you say that, you make yourself sound dumber.
We do recognize differences, and people are experiencing discrimination because of it.
Are any white people experiencing discrimination?
This philosophy of colorblindness, and that we can try to treat people regardless of their background or regardless of their skin color, treat everyone the same. It's a nice thought.
Yes, it is a nice thought. It is something that we should do more of and be the change we want to see. Why are you saying that we should not? If you're saying that it is difficult or that it is not as common as we would like it to be, I might agree with you. But to argue against it is just baffling to me.
But it's not working.
Okay, what do you mean it is not working? Because you just said racism exists everywhere, and you cannot eliminate racism. It's like saying I'm going to destroy theft, right? Or I'm going to annihilate deception. It's not going to happen. The most you can do is disincentivize it under law and make it not fashionable in society writ large. That's about it. What is wrong with promoting a philosophy of race irrelevancy? Is that easier for you rather than colorblindness, race irrelevancy? Maybe then you don't have to try to finagle it into some kind of like medical condition someone is claiming to have?
You can't think away racism.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can. Racism is an ideology. Core there being idea. You can work your way out of it if you've been taught it or you believe it for some reason. It has happened. You can do it. You saying it's impossible doesn't help the situation.
So I can see that initially this thought of colorblind approaches to inclusion might sound appealing.
You still haven't told us how it somehow does harm.
For example, there's a lot of companies now that are taking this approach of blind hiring or anonymous applications where they remove all identifying factors from a candidate's profile.
Sure, I have heard of those things. Of course, at some point you're going to have to meet the person, so if someone does possess unconscious biases, you can only police so much.
Or even in the US, there's a big movement now to remove race as a consideration in college admission decisions.
By October of 2023, that had already happened. By October of 2023, which is when this talk took place, the Supreme Court had already outlawed affirmative action as of, I think it was June of that year. So, yeah.
And I can understand that initially this sounds like a good thing.
It does sound like a good thing. You need to tell me why it's bad. I'm still waiting for this revelation.
Right? You're trying to assess people based on their skills.
Yeah, their skills, their experience, their personal character, yeah.
And it aligns with our democratic ideals of equality for all.
Yes. It does. So now tell me of the harms it automatically does. And please, I'll do another psychic thing here. And again, I quote from the great Thomas Sowell. Please don't give me an argument that effectively says, quote, when people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment seems like discrimination, unquote. Because if that's where you're going, you've already lost as well.
But this assumes that everybody starts out on an equal footing in life.
Oh no! Good God! How old is that drawing? That cartoon has been around since I started my channel and probably earlier. Oh boy! All right, so basically, you want us to take pity on people because of what they look like. You want us to assume that by looking at someone that they need a hand up because obviously their race is a disability. Huh? What? Is there another word for that? Is there a word for assuming to know the quality or capability of a person on the basis of what they look like? Golly, I wonder what that's called.
Which is not true.
It's not true. Wait, it's not true. What's not true? Hold on, I cut her off. Let me try again.
People based on their skills, and it aligns with our democratic ideals of equality for all.
Right, sorry about that. I didn't want to cut her off. I see people throwing my name up in the chat. What am I missing here? I don't want to be missing something. This entire talk has been non sequitur so far. It's true. I want to wait and see if she gives us like a really solid weightless example. But yeah, in aggregate, we're going to circle it anyway. I just want to wait and see if she gives us something that's undeniable. What else? Somebody else said something here. Oh, there we go. Race irrelevancy. Oh, yeah, then explain NASCAR. You know, you hit the nail on the head. You belong in the corner.
But this assumes that everybody starts out on an equal footing in life.
This assumes that you should reward someone on the basis of their merit, not on their assumed disability of race.
Which is not true.
You're right. You know what? Life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. You know, should I be allowed right now to become an NBA All-Star? I mean, life didn't set me up to become a professional basketball player. Right? Both the circumstances of my birth and my physicality and my own personal choices in life did not lead me to the NBA. But I want to be an NBA player. I should just be allowed to be an NBA player, right? Just because I wanna. Just because I think I deserve it. And if not, why not? Explain that one to me. Thank you, the Dead Man, for a poo sticker. It's a happy poo sticker. I'm not sure if that's a compliment to the stream or a criticism of me. Or both. But thank you, Dead Man. Appreciate it.
In reality, some people do start out with less, and therefore that means they might encounter more obstacles or need more support in order to arrive at an equal level of opportunity.
Okay, you're not talking about equal level. You're not talking about equal opportunity. You're talking about a quality of outcome. You're trying to manufacture an even outcome for people regardless of their skills, experience, decisions, etc. That's not how it's supposed to work. That's not equal opportunity. That's not meritocracy. You're taking pity on people because of what they look like and assuming that they need help. And saying that anybody who doesn't look like them doesn't need said help or such support. And you're trying to engineer a parity. And here's the thing. P-A-R-I-T-Y, parity. Here's the problem. Life is not fair. That's the reality. I know it's a terrible thing to have to learn when you grow up, but it's true. The best you can hope for is equal opportunity, not equality of outcome, because therein lies the dragons.
And so when we are reading colorblind applications, we're assessing people without seeing any of the discrimination or additional struggles they may have faced before their application even gets to your desk.
Okay, so again, yes, if I see something that denotes to me someone's race, I automatically know that they have experienced hardship in their life, and I need to take pity on them. I can't take them on as the individual that they are. I have to assume to know something about them because of the racial demographic they fall into. I have to feel sorry for them. If I see that someone is of a particular race, well, I know whether or not they've ever faced any kind of inequality, any kind of discrimination, obviously so. Because I know that if I see an application that indicates that someone is black, that means that every white person they've ever encountered has treated them badly, and they obviously have been harmed by how other people have thought about them because they're weak-willed and have no agency of their own, and they're really, really just holding out their hat, hoping for a hand up. Please, please help me. I'm such a poor and tortured soul, obviously, because of my skin color. And that's the mentality our speaker is apparently advocating for. Isn't that great? Fostonia, holy cow, thank you so much for the samurai trophy-hugging Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox.
Wowee, wow, wow.
Oh, there's an irate Alex Dogcat Fox. Thank you so much, Fostonia. It's very generous of you. Appreciate it. Okay, so yes, we have to take pity on people because we know what their race and or ethnicity is. Obviously, they need extra help, and here's the thing: if we know that they are a white candidate, we can more easily ignore them for opportunities, because obviously all the white people always get all the opportunities, so we're not going to give this individual person who exists outside of their skin color. No, that doesn't. No, we're going to ignore them and give preferential treatment to people on the basis of their race. What? Is there a word for that kind of thinking?
And not collecting comprehensive race and ethnicity data is also dangerous because it makes it hard to know what the specific needs of each community are.
If you're going to start using disparities as evidence of inequities, that's another mark in your disfavor.
And that means that we're not able to take targeted approaches to help them with the challenges that they might face in public services like education or housing or employment or healthcare or the criminal justice system.
If you have evidence that the law is being broken in regards to discrimination laws, then by all means. Otherwise, what are you talking about? Give me a specific example. You have not made an argument that being racist is good yet. Not to me, anyway.
And that is dangerous because then it means that some communities become invisible and perpetually underserved.
You're not talking about communities, you're talking about demographics. You are dehumanizing the process even more.
And sometimes it might even mean that their lives are in danger.
It might mean their lives are in danger. It might mean that we're actually all breathing the aether and that the stars are just little pinpricks in a giant glass ball that we exist in. You know, it might mean a lot of things. You have any proof or evidence of this? I have a distinct feeling that our speaker is practicing the God of the gaps theory on statistical analysis. Ooh, there's a gap. There's a difference between these two demographics, therefore racism.
There was a study done by a group of criminologists in Germany that...
Do I really want to trust Germany about studies when it comes to law enforcement or race? You just told us that Germany is turning a blind eye to its own racism. So
found that there were strong trends of ethnic minorities experiencing police violence, systemic police violence.
Systemic police violence? And here's the thing, I gotta ask, as an American with some knowledge of actual crime statistics, were ethnic minorities being unfairly targeted by police? Or was the majority of crimes being committed coming from ethnic minority demographics? I don't know why I have to ask that question.
Due to racial and ethnic profiling.
Oh, and obviously what Europe needs to do less of is racial and ethnic profiling, like in the UK.
However, because police reports don't actually capture race and ethnicity data, there's no way to systematically analyze this for the broader population.
So you have no idea if the headline there is actually accurate. So, okay, contradicts own point, fails to make argument. So there was a study that did this, even though there's absolutely no data upon which this study could actually make that claim. Great.
It's just a small study.
A small study of information that doesn't actually exist or is collected.
And that means with the lack of evidence, it's really difficult to build a case for how to take action and create systemic change.
Yeah, can you believe it, guys? We have absolutely no evidence that we can draw upon to prove this is actually happening. That makes it really difficult to set policies when we don't actually have it. Oh my gosh. Okay, also circling systemic institutional because she used that several times in the last 2 minutes. Are you kidding me? Good gravy. Also, benevolent condescension, circling that one because obviously if you're of this race or something, you need help. Fui, Columba.
And color-conscious approaches to data inclusion are not only important for
color-conscious approach, racist approaches, you're saying. Racist approaches. Color-conscious is just the politically correct way of saying benevolent racism. At least be honest with yourself on that one. Come on. Thank you, Wheezy McBluntblowin. This lady needs to read her Bible. Basic instructions before leaving Earth, LOL. She was getting annoying, so needed some music in background. I got music. You're not hearing my background music? My soothing, soft piano music? Do I have it turned down too low? Here, I'll turn it up just a smidge. Just a little bit more. There, I can help out with that. If I've got that on too low, just let me know. But thank you, Wheezy, JB, whoever you are. Not gangster enough? Do I have gangster music? I got this like EDM stuff going on that Tom Connors made for me for election night. How about this? No? It takes a minute to get going. How about this one? This is more like news music, like, breaking news. Really serious stuff. No? Alright, anyway. Going back to piano music. Don't want it to drown out everything else. But anyway, showing off my musical files. I got to add some more music. The problem is that you got to make sure it's music that's copyright free or just, generalized or something. So that's a little bit difficult. Anyway. Musical interlude. Anyway, you were saying color conscious policies are what now? Or sorry, racist policies are what now?
And color-conscious approaches to data inclusion are not only important for ethnic minorities. The UK did a race disparity audit.
Disparity, you say?
A couple years ago.
Yeah.
And they found that Roma children are falling behind their peers in education.
Why? What kind of home life do Roma children have? What kind of culture might be informing how they approach education? Is it the system doing it, or is there something endemic amongst Roma culture?
But when they looked at poor children, they saw that white students were actually performing the lowest in school.
Really? Huh. Why?
And so having this race and ethnicity data allowed researchers, policymakers, and educators to realize that not only did minority Roma children need more support, but so did poor white children.
Oh my, wait, you're telling me that poor people did worse in education, what about poor black children? Maybe it's a class thing. Do you think it might be a class thing more than a race thing? Or a culture thing? I mean, there might be some cultural things informing Roma culture, or did you break down Roma culture amongst wealthy versus poor? I know, I'm asking all these questions, but you've already come to the conclusion, I guess. Is it race or is it class?
And unless we had that disaggregated data, that community would have gotten lost in the mix.
Desegregated data? What? You couldn't have just done a survey of low-income students versus upper-income students and just dealt with it on a class level. You had to break it down by race? And what does this tell you? What is the solution? I mean, okay, you know what? I'll stipulate for the sake of argument. You have this information. You know that Roma students are doing poorly. Poor white students are doing poorly. Okay. And with this knowledge, with this race-conscious policy, what did you do, or what did they do, to solve the problem? What does this information tell them that they need to do?
And not only is this important for the public sector.
You're not going to tell us, are you? How did they react to this information? You're not going to tell us. Okay. Already circled leaves out vital context.
In the private sector, I know a lot of businesses are struggling with this idea of creating a collective identity and creating a workplace where everybody feels that they belong.
Yes, where they can be their authentic selves, their true selves, their unfiltered selves. DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Also, I'm going to circle, where is it on here? Weightless example, non sequitur. If she's going to bring up this study about the students and then not tell us what the solution to the problem is. Because she's telling us that race-conscious policies are the solution. Okay, well, you've identified a disparity. So then what do the race-conscious policies tell you need to do about that disparity? How do they solve for that disparity? No? Not going to tell us? Okay.
And a lot of business leaders will cite data privacy policies like GDPR as something that prevents them from collecting ethnicity data.
Well, you could have fooled me. I've got more than a few files full of diversity reports from major corporations across several years that have absolutely no problem telling you in big, bold letters and colors exactly their demographic breakdown on the basis of race, ethnicity, gender, etc. So I don't know what you're talking about.
And it's true that it makes it more difficult, but it's not impossible.
I mean, admittedly, I don't know if she's talking about, or maybe I missed it, maybe she's talking about like European countries or something, but American companies, oh, they have no problem.
I've done it.
You've done it?
In the last company I worked at in Germany, we did collect race and ethnicity data.
Oh, okay. So were you violating a law in some way, shape, or form? Okay.
And what we found is that when we disaggregated that data...
Desegregated that data. You desegregated the data by dividing everybody up on the basis of race. How is that desegregation? And I'm asking sincerely, am I getting my terms mixed up here or something?
We could define our problem more specifically.
Problem? Oh, so these pie charts denote a problem. For those of you listening at home, she's got two pie charts on the screen now. One shows off the makeup of the workplace that she was at on the basis of gender. The second pie chart shows race and ethnicity. The options for gender, if you can believe it, number more than two. Women, men, non-binary, and did not disclose. I would think just by looking you could tell. But anyway, and then race and ethnicity, they have white, Asian, Hispanic, Latin. Not Latino, Latin. And every time that I see that, my brain first wants to interpret it as latrine, which is pretty bad. Why would you do that? But anyway, Hispanic, Latin, or Spanish descent, Middle Eastern or North African, Black, Caribbean, or African descent, and lastly, did not disclose. So I assume this is some kind of survey they put out there. I'm guessing. But, Keeverdam, Latanya. Latanya? What? Let's see. No, I agree she's using desegregated wrong. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, my first thought is I've got it wrong, that desegregate in the sense of statistics means something different than what I'm thinking of. Because I want to give the benefit of the doubt that I'm the one who's just stupid here. But unless there's some other interpretation of it in the realm of statistics, then I'm not quite sure what it means. Anyway, so yeah, you did this survey, you have all the stuff split up, and these are problems. So women, 57%, men, 37%. So there is a overrepresentation of women at this company. 4% non-binary, whatever that means, probably women. And lastly, 2% did not disclose. And then as far as race and ethnicity, white 61%, Asian 15%, Middle Eastern or North African 10%, Hispanic 6%, Black or African 5%, and did not disclose 2%. Okay, so somewhere in these two pie charts, she says there is a problem.
Our problem was actually not so much in terms of hiring for diversity. It was that our promotion rates were not distributed equally across ethnic groups.
Okay, so you want to instill a racial test for job promotion in order to achieve a kind of parity in advancement? Let me just make sure I understand this. The problem is you are not promoting equitably along racial lines. Okay, in Germany, how did you solve for this problem? Or should I say, I don't know if she was actually in charge there, what would you suggest be done to solve for this problem?
Specifically, our Asian women and Black employees in general were being passed over for promotions into leadership roles.
Because they were Asian and women specifically?
And so once we had a more defined problem, it gave us a direction to design training and support that our community needed.
So you gave preferential treatment in training opportunities to employees on the basis of their gender or their race to try to encourage them and justify promoting them in order to fill out the demographic split that you were aiming for. And so these opportunities and these resources were assigned specifically to employees on the basis of what they looked like. Okay.
But why is it important to gather disaggregated data?
Okay, lady, you're going to have to define for me what desegregated data means, because everything I just saw in your pie charts was divvying people up only and explicitly on the basis of their ethnicity or race. Well, actually just their race, basically. And or their gender. Or genders. What do you mean desegregate data?
Why can't we use this collective term of migrants, this aggregate term that a lot of European nations use?
Why are we talking about this? Okay. I'm going to look this up just for my own edification. What is the definition of desegregated data? Because maybe I'm just stupid here. I'm willing to admit if I'm stupid on something. Desegregated data. No, not disaggregated data. Desegregated. Okay, sorry. Desegregated data, also known as disaggregated data, is data that is broken down or separated from a large aggregated data set into smaller, more specific units for analysis. Why do they call it desegregated? It's segregated. You're splitting it up and dividing it on. Okay, so she's using the term correctly, but it is absolutely and totally ridiculous. I mean, disaggregated data makes more sense. Desegregated data? I am decidedly confused. Okay, so I'm dumb. She's using the term correctly, even though the term to me makes absolutely no sense in that context. But okay, why don't we just clump everybody together into migrants? For what purpose would you do that? I mean, your purpose is to, through the God of the Gaps process, show that there is an injustice taking place because of a disparity in statistics. I don't know. Why are we even asking this question at this point? Was that even the point of this talk?
Well, I see 3 reasons why that's an issue.
Oh, well, if I didn't already circle a list, I would have circled a list. Also, in the chat, it's Gen T Maxi from the Great White North. Or, sorry, the Great Diverse North.
The first is that there are a lot of people of color in Europe who were born here.
You don't say. Wow.
And therefore, they wouldn't be captured by this term migrant.
Okay, so an argument that nobody was making is an argument you're arguing against. A great use of our time.
And they still experience discrimination based on their race and ethnicity. So what do we do with that?
I don't know. You're the expert. You tell me.
The second reason is that even within this term of migrant, there are vastly different experiences. So
how about people who are actually from another place? How about we just make that the dividing line? Your country of origin is not a European country. How about we just divide it up on experience? You want to talk about experience so much? Well then, are you originally from here or did you come here from somewhere else? And I'd say you come from somewhere else and you're not a legal citizen or resident. That'd probably be my general term. Or you're not a permanent resident, let's say.
For example, researchers found that across the EU, opinions about allowing Ukrainian refugees into the country were starkly different from those about Syrian refugees.
Okay. Is it racial or is it cultural?
And so this difference in public opinion means that even within the category of migrants, people have different experiences based in terms of acceptance and belonging.
Is it racial or is it cultural?
Based on how they are perceived.
Is it racial or is it cultural?
And unless we have that disaggregated data, it's hard to know which community is more at risk.
Okay, well, now that I've attuned my brain to take desegregated into being segregated, okay, I guess that makes some sense on the 30,000 foot level, but she's still not asking any other questions. It's just race. There's no other factors involved. There's no other considerations. There's no other elements that might be contributing to these differences in opinion. No, it's just race, because everybody's racist.
And lastly,
I mean, you got 3 minutes left.
the third issue, and I think this is the main issue with why it's an issue to collect, to use this proxy, migrants, instead.
Nobody is arguing. Okay. Anyway.
Of using ethnicity or race.
Yeah.
I believe that Europe's insistence on using this aggregate category.
Does Europe insist on using this aggregate? So wait, Europe, every country in Europe does their analysis of things on some giant combined notion of migrant as anyone who isn't white? Is that true?
Is based on this assumption that ethnic minorities are temporary.
I don't believe her. Anecdote that probably never happened. I don't believe that's the case. It feels to me like she's arguing against a complete straw man there. I would be amazed if that were actually true. If somebody tells me that Europe writ large assesses their populations on the basis of citizen versus migrant, and the dividing line is race or ethnicity, that if you're white, you're on one side, and if you're anything else, you're considered a migrant, I do not believe her. But if you can believe it with circling that square, something has just happened.
Bingo.
What? Of course!
We have our first bingo right down the center. Might have more. We're almost done.
There's still this mindset that they'll eventually go back where they came from, and that they don't need to be integrated into the collective sense of national identity.
Okay. Integrated into the sense of national identity. If they are from another nation, they are coming there to assimilate into that nation, not bring their nation in there in some radically different way. I think, you know, if you think about that possibility for a second, those numbers between the Ukrainians and the Syrians might make a little bit more sense.
But we need to recognize that these communities are no longer migrants. They're here to stay, and
They're here to stay. Are they here to assimilate? Are they here legally?
they call this place home too.
Do they call the nation home, or do they simply call the geography home? There is a difference.
I started today talking about acceptance and belonging, and
You did start out talking about those things.
how comprehensive demographic data can help us get there.
Have you shown us comprehensive data? You've shown us statistical disparities. Is that comprehensive in your mind?
The data we gather and the stories that we tell with it matter.
Yes. How you decide to spin statistics for your own purposes, that does matter. It's true.
They matter because data can be used to control the narrative of who belongs, But data can also be used to empower, to make people feel included and seen as part of a community.
And how are those two things inherently different depending on the person doing the narration? You can try to spin that data any way that you want, and you've done so in this presentation by leaving out information, by glossing over possibilities that lead to those results. You're doing that. You're crafting a narrative. And I'm still not quite sure who you think you're helping by doing so.
Our discomfort with talking about race is preventing us from collecting necessary disaggregated race and ethnicity data.
No, it isn't. Now, if you're talking about Europe, again, I haven't looked at European companies' diversity reports. If there's something under law or under policy or under custom that is preventing European companies and organizations from doing that kind of stuff, all right, fair enough, I guess, for the sake of her own pitch here. But there's absolutely nothing stopping any company in America from doing that. So, from my experience, and I know it's just my experience, I have no idea what she's talking about.
But migrants like me want to feel accepted and have equal access to opportunity without having to lose parts of ourselves in the process.
Why are you calling yourself a migrant? Yeah, migrant does imply someone who is nomadic in some way, shape, or form. They are not a permanent resident. Now, you've been all over the country. You've been quite the nomad and everything. You're a migrant now, so you're putting yourself in the very category that you say needs to be desegregated into all these other I'm confused. I'm very, very confused.
I was introduced to you today as MK, but
You were? You said your name at the beginning, but okay, you were introduced as MK, not MJ, Mary Jones.
my full name is actually Maria Fernanda Quiriguindia Romero.
Great, and
When I moved to the US,
did everybody mispronounce? Is this going to turn into people mispronounced my name argument or complaint?
and I tried to fit into that colorblind melting pot narrative,
Shut up. Just, oh, woe is me.
I allowed my name to be whitewashed into the shorter and more palatable Maria Kerrigan.
You allowed it. So this was a choice that you made to fit in. Yeah, you know, I've never known anyone in my growing up or in my childhood who had an embarrassing name who decided to shorthand it or go by a nickname or something instead. Only you, only you have ever had it bad. Only you have ever been made sad. Only you. Yeah.
And I went by that name for years.
By your own decision. Uh-huh.
But as I started healing and reclaiming my heritage and
Oh, get over yourself.
my identity,
Oh, jeez.
this name started tasting funny in my mouth.
Ew. Do you have synesthesia?
It felt strange.
Yeah.
And so I changed it again, this
Uh-huh. What'd you change it to?
time to MK.
So you just kept concatenating it down to a smaller version because you were so proud of your heritage. So shortening, removing whole parts of your real name felt bad, but taking it down to just the initials, that felt better?
And I think I'm going to need to stop moving around because I can't go any shorter than that.
Why did you do it at all? I mean, most people are just going to call you Maria in casual conversation anyway, so what? Who cares? Do you know? Now, I'm sure that if he's here, Walter Tomaszewski can testify to this. I had in my growing up more than a few Polish kids with names that to this day I cannot pronounce. But that was just the way of the world. You know? Grow up, would you?
But frankly, I'm tired of having to cut off pieces of myself.
Nobody made you do that. You said you did that of your own volition. Nobody forced you to do that. You felt uncomfortable. You wanted to fit in. So you made some decisions trying to fit in because you're so paranoid about fitting in. Again, to steal a song lyric from a good song, that is a pain self-chosen.
In order to fit in to the places that I migrate to.
Yeah. Uh-huh. You didn't have to do that. Nobody was making you do that. You did that.
I've worked really hard on reclaiming my Latina identity.
Your Latina identity. What is your Latina identity? What does that... And I ask sincerely, what exactly does that mean to her, I wonder? I mean, setting aside her actual identity, what does being Latina automatically... What's that supposed to automatically tell me about you, right? Because we're not supposed to live in a colorblind society. I'm supposed to look upon you as an inherent victim that needs special help. Because obviously, since I have some notion of your ethnicity, which I'd have absolutely no notion of unless you'd said something at the beginning, but whatever. Since I now know that you are Latina, I have to assume what about you? I have to assume what about your personal experience? I have to assume what about your personal capabilities and character? How can I best categorize you in the victim narrative of the world now that I know that you're Latina? And if I actually did that, and I did that to any Latina I came across, what would you call me for taking pity on people just for what they look like? Or thinking poorly of them and their capabilities and their prospects? What would you call that kind of philosophy? Is that something you'd like to encourage more in people? Because that seems to be what you're doing here. Thank you again, Faustonia. Holy cow. A TEDXcellence stream, driving scribe to break out into oldies song has got to be a bingo square on a bingo card somewhere. No, it's just as Ranting Monkey gave me just the autistic jukebox occasionally shining through. That's all. That's all. That's all. No, sorry. Oh.
And I don't want it to be erased.
You changed your name. You downplayed one of the only things that automatically interacting with somebody would tell them that you have a quote-unquote exotic background. You did that. So what does it mean to be Latina for you, oh world traveler?
Through colorblind approaches to inclusion.
Colorblind approaches to inclusion. Okay, so wait a second. So you don't want people to discriminate against you because of what you look like, which is great, right? You were trying to avoid that the whole time. You felt like the outsider because you had kids, mind you, who were othering you because of what you looked like. So what is the opposite to that way of thinking? Oh, that's right. That would be colorblind thinking. That'd be the kids assessing you on the basis of you and not what you look like and not the details of your name. Oh, but now you're arguing against colorblind thinking because colorblind thinking led to you changing everything about yourself to homogenize. Wait, I'm honestly confused as to where this logic path is supposed to take us.
I want you to see me for all of me.
No, you don't. You want me to assess you first and foremost on the basis of your ethnicity and assume that you need special help and that you are a victim and that you need to be pitied. That's what you've been arguing this entire time. Right? You don't want me to not see your color. You want me to acknowledge your color as an identity in and of itself. I mean, you kept making yourself less unique by bringing your name down to 2 initials. You did that.
Not just my gender.
Not just your gender. Lady, your gender means nothing to me. You know? It means nothing. I'm not going to date you. Don't worry.
And I don't want you to accept me despite my identity, but
You don't want me to accept you despite your identity. Okay, which identity are we talking about here? Who you are or what you are? You really need to make that distinction. You like desegregating data, right? Okay, make a distinction between what kind of identity you're referring to.
me despite my identity, but because of it.
Let's listen to that one more time. Again, assuming that by identity she means her Latina heritage, her Latina ethnicity.
Don't want it to be erased through colorblind approaches to inclusion. I want you to see me for all of me, not just my gender. And I don't want you to accept me despite my identity, but because of it.
You want me to accept you because of your ethnicity. You want me to put a value on you, the individual, first and foremost, on your ethnicity as a positive. Just without any other qualifiers. It's just, well, she's Latina, so obviously I should accept her because she's Latina. Never mind who she is, she's an acceptable what? Is that where this is going?
I'm proud of my heritage.
I'm glad you're proud of your heritage. Your heritage says absolutely nothing about you. I know, this is a crazy idea. Someone with your exact same heritage, coming from Bolivia, could be a saint or a serial killer. But just because I know of your heritage says nothing about you. But you want me to place a value on your ethnicity in the positive, simply for showing up with your ethnicity. And I'm supposed to know something specifically about your background, your history, your struggles, your achievements because of your ethnicity. Except, lady, I hate to tell you this. I know it's crazy. When you came out on the stage and you said that you were Latina, that doesn't say, that as well says nothing about where you come from specifically or what your heritage is. That is a wide swath of places from which you could have come from. So, I'd rather learn about you, the person, than make assumptions about you, the skin color. I know, crazy idea.
As it stands, I think colorblind approaches to inclusion and data collection are a convenient way to maintain sameness while using the excuse of equality.
You've absolutely made no argument effectively against colorblind thinking. For the sake of statistical analysis, sure, there might be uses for that, maybe. But of course, your conclusions are immediately, oh, well, there's a disparity, therefore racism, without controlling for any other factors or thinking about anything else. Yeah. You may be arguing against colorblind thinking, but you have got tunnel vision.
But maybe it's time we start expanding our narrative about who belongs in our communities, starting with the data we collect about the people who call this shared place home. Thank you.
You know who belongs? Law-abiding citizens or legal residents. I think that's a good start. And notice, I didn't put a racial qualifier on that. If you're a white German that comes to America and breaks the law, I don't think you belong. I just don't think you belong. And even if you are a white American who breaks the law, I don't think you belong. I don't think you belong in a society. In a society. We live in a society. Anyway. Okay, well, that happened. I did. Now, here's the thing. I did learn something new today. We all learned something new. That in the realm of statistical analysis, desegregation actually means granular division of statistics. Which seems counterintuitive, but there you go. It is what it is. Anyway, this is the bingo card as I have it, guys. I'm going to go over it one more time by myself. If you have arguments for squares to be circled, please hold on to them. I will get to you momentarily. Marginalization, certainly. I think she even used the term in there somewhere, or at least implied it between her being ostracized and so on and made fun of by others in school and elsewise. Self-vilification or wretchedness. At no point in this did she confess to her own biases that I can recall, or being a part of the problem, or making some kind of confession there too. I'm happy to be corrected, but I don't believe so. Feminism. The only reason I'm hesitant is because she used examples of women in the same breath as any other minority demographic that she was comparing to. It didn't sound particularly feminist specifically. So I'm going to need something a bit more firm than that. Privilege. There was plenty implied about, the promotions. The promotions in the businesses were going to certain demographics and not others, and so there was the implication on her end that those demographics experienced a privilege that others did not. There you go. Collectivize his own demographic. Boy, howdy, especially at the end there. My identity, I'm Latina, and that means what? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Old canard.
Bingo. What? Bingo! Yeah! Of course!
Economic disparity. Yes, she brought up the poor white students in her little non sequitur example that she didn't give any extra details on exactly what the solution to that problem was. But anyway.
I had a dog, and his name was...
What?
I had a dog, and his name was...
Bingo!
Of course!
Attempt to coin new buzzword or buzz phrase. Okay, well, I can't give it to her for desegregated data because that was just a phrase unknown to me, not a new one. And obviously, colorblind is not something she came up with. I don't think she was trying to pitch any kind of new coffee table book, as far as I can tell. Patriarchy. She. Again, it's sort of like feminism. She touched upon gender here and there, but her own statistics showed a far larger population of women at the business that she was working at versus men. And she brought up like not being assessed because she's a woman, but I don't know. I'm a little shaky on that one. I might need a argument. White supremacy. Yes, in all but saying right out. Yes, she was making a white supremacy argument to a lot of the statistics she was bringing up. Sales pitch for product or service. She never mentioned a book. She never mentioned an organization she works for, or even named the business that she was working for and everything. I don't think so. And lastly, word salad. Okay, this is a tough one because while she's, I can't say this was word salad. Like, she said a lot of things that were non sequiturs. She kept leading up to things and then not paying them off. That's leaving out vital context. I didn't really feel like I had to go. At no point in this did I go, etc. So I don't know if there was a word salad example there. So if you have one, you've got a little bit of a steep hill to climb. Because at this point, nearly every square is a bingo square. Nearly every square. So the hill is steep. The climb is difficult. If you have arguments, put them in the chat now. Advocast Diabli, sales pitch for disaggregated data collection. Or desegregated. No, it's good. She has to name a business or name a product. A process does not a product make, I don't think. Random American, by the way, guys, over on the X machine. Yes, I am also simulcasting on X, maybe to the detriment of my YouTube statistics. Of course, if you're listening to me on X, by all means, come to my YouTube channel and subscribe and get alerts so that you can watch it all in its 480p glory in the future. Let's see. Oh, hey, I had X up the whole time. Yeah. And if you are on X and you see this on X, if nothing else, please do retweet it out there, because at least it lets people know out on the X world that I exist. Exist. I exist, you see? Let's see. Buzzword, colorblind inclusion. Never heard those words using that. I have. Or colorblind inclusive arguments or things. I don't want to give this lady too much credit for very old concepts. So, let's see. If you cared about your heritage, lady, then you would give a shit about migrants fucking up Spain for real. Yeah. You see, it has a lot more to do with the lack of assimilation and allowing islands of ideologies and cultural beliefs and extremist religious practices foment without any kind of required assimilation. Because like you're coming to a different country. It's not about making that country your country. That's colonization. And we know that colonizing things is bad, obviously. Frostglass, self-vilification. She changed her name for those evil white... Oh, right. Yeah, there you go. Yes. Very good. That's correct. Yeah. No, I buy that. That's good. Yeah. No, she had to hide who she was. Yeah, that might be more like self-pity or something. But I get that. Okay. Yeah, that just rides the line between plays victim and elsewise. Ranting Monkey is here. Guys, I don't know if you know about Ranting Monkey. I don't have a stinger for Ranting Monkey. I should come up with one. Ranting Monkey, like, let me show you some examples. I've got stingers for some of my YouTube friends. So you tell me what you need. Okay, that one's her tail feature, and this one's for Sinatra. And then, of course, I have this one for Irate Alec. Okay, so I need some ideas. I need some input. What should I do for Ranting Monkey? Or Ranting Monkey, do you have a preference of like a genre or some kind of other aesthetic I should work in there? Because I need to come up with something. It's almost your 9th anniversary in a couple days. I should cook something up for your 9th anniversary to mark the occasion. So if you have some ideas, either you or Chad Elsewise, let me know. Any other arguments for squares to be circled, guys? Play a sound of a person falling down the stairs. Now that's just being cruel. I'm not going to be cruel to my YouTube friends, at least not to their faces. Jeez. Advocates Diablo again. Feminism. She brought up the whole gender thing being important and even mentioned that she was at a women's convention. Oh, well. It was a women's conference. Yeah, it's true. Okay, yeah, so in the aggregate, I'm not going to disaggregate the information. No, I will aggregate the information at that suggestion, so sure. It just crosses the line. One toke over the line, one toke over the line.
Won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay!
Right?
All right, another bingo. Any other squares to be circled, guys? The arguments better be good at this point. Let's see. Did Ranting Monkey respond? Of course he didn't. Leaves it a mystery. Just like never watching The Shield. I got him the entire series. He like watched one episode and just dropped it. Ay, caramba. Oy, caramba. Word salad, her full name. No, I'm not gonna. No. Funny, but no. Funny, but no. Sorry, dude, I'm barely waking up. Okay, well, you don't have to apologize for not watching The Shield because you're in pain. Okay, well, anyway, I'm gonna come up with a stinger, a Ranting Monkey stinger, to be used on my show as a commemoration of your upcoming 9th birthday. By the way, guys, if you don't know about Ranting Monkey, let me tell you something. Ranting Monkey started YouTube officially by like uploading videos just almost exactly a month before I did back in 2016. His 9th anniversary is coming up on September 8th. So this coming Monday, if my internal calendar isn't completely off. So if you have not heard of Ranting Monkey, and how haven't you? But if you haven't, or if you're not already subscribed to his channel, you should totally do that, like right now. I mean right now, like just leave this show. The show's almost over. There's nothing left here. I'm going to wrap it up here for you. Just go over to his channel. Just subscribe right now. Or you can open up a new tab if you really want to. And get ready to celebrate his 9th anniversary on the 8th. I'm looking forward to it. And in commemoration, I'm going to have to come up with a Ranting Monkey stinger of some kind. I got to find a piece of music that fits. I got to find an image to superimpose his avatar over. Nothing mean. I'm not going to do anything mean. I got to figure out what it's going to be. What do I know about Ranting Monkey lore that I could turn into a convincing stinger? I guess only the next couple of days will tell. But with that, everybody, we're going to start winding things down here. Now, of course, if you have an argument for a square yet to be circled that was not seen here, or I missed it, or you come up with it after the fact, you can always leave it as a comment in the comments below. Or, more efficiently, you could also leave it over on the Discord server. Would you like to join the Discord server? A link to the Discord server is in the chat right now. Just click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you are not a bot, actually watch the stream, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is desegregated. Just say hello, desegregated, and I'll know that you watched the show. Beyond that, programming note, there will be no Saturday stream this week, and there will be no Sunday stream this week, unless I decide to do something late on Sunday, because I will be out of town visiting the folks. Sister Scribe and I are going to go visit our mommy and our daddy, and we'll be gone for the better part of the weekend. So, I will be back Sunday afternoonish, and if I decide to do a stream, it'll be then or shortly thereafter then. So just be prepared for my absence as of Saturday. Now, it's also possible I might just, to get it out of my system, I might do something on here tomorrow night, Friday night. I guess we'll see. You'll have to watch out for that over on my Twitter machine. And if you don't know about my Twitter, it is scribe_light over on the Discord elsewise. Beyond that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the link at the top of the chat box to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, guys, thank you so much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. Otherwise, everyone, I hope you have a good rest of your Thursday. I hope you have a good Friday ahead of you and weekend as well. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.